folks, welcome back to Indaba Africa. This is Chris once again. Hey folks, welcome back to Chris White Africa here on the Indaba Africa channel, part of the Indaba Broadcasting Network. On February 14th, I think that day is important for a reason. Oh, that's right. It's St. Valentine's Day. Well, happy St. Valentine's Day to you and to everyone out there watching. My special featured guest, a brief guest on today, is the Chief Executive Officer of the Restaurant Association of South Africa, none other than Wendy Albert. She's back once again. How are you, Wendy? Thanks for coming back to join us.
Thank you so much. Happy Valentine's Day to you all.
Well, thanks a lot. We appreciate that. Listen, before we get right into it, I'm going to ask you a couple questions about Valentine's Day and the impact on the restaurant industry. But I did want to give you congratulations because I have here in my hand a letter, wasn't sent to me, but a letter from Harwinda Pawar from Lux Life magazine, in which they have identified that the Restaurant Association of South Africa has won the award as leading provider of restaurateur professional support South Africa in the 2021 Restaurant and Bar Awards. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We are very appreciative of the award, and I think my staff are going to be delighted. They certainly deserve the recognition and the accolade. They work tirelessly around the clock to certainly do everything to bring integrity, authenticity, and transparency through to the restaurant industry in South Africa.
No, it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, that's what they say. They took a lot into account, apparently testimonials from clients and customers and the community, as well as business performance and also longevity, because you've been doing this for a while. So all played a role. Pretty impressive. Well done.
Thank you.
So let's get right into it. Valentine's Day. This is usually a time of the year, I imagine, that restaurants, bars, and pubs around the country are probably pretty stoked, because don't you get a lot of your business on Valentine's Day? Isn't that the norm? And is that the norm this year? I suspect it's not.
Absolutely. You know, we were in lockdown from the 28th of December, which is our festive season. A lot of restaurateurs struggled to hold their doors open until the next level of lockdown arrived on our doorstep, which was on the 1st of February. So we had very difficult times. I think we chatted about that and how complex it was. And we've just recently opened. It's our second week into trading, our second major weekend. Our first weekend, we saw phenomenal numbers that represented the industry. People were fatigued from sitting at home. They certainly missed socializing. They missed going out. And this is one of the bigger days in the restaurant industry, the celebration of Valentine's Day. And I could not have asked for a better day to have fallen on the weekend. You know, we've had a celebration since Friday, Saturday, and obviously today. So I must say I did my rounds today, and I feel very warm and loving in my heart to have seen life back in the restaurants, to see all these beautiful people just energized and doing their best thing, and to see all the roses and the rose petals, and to see all the paraphernalia and bubbles and corks popping and music on and lights on and some live music. So it was certainly a very, very beautiful weekend that financially has rewarded the industry exponentially. And I certainly do hope this was the springboard that many of our restaurants certainly needed, just to look at bringing in cash flow to survive the month.
Well, that's impressive. Yeah, I guess people hadn't really thought about that. It's actually essentially a long weekend for the industry. You've had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday now. But since Valentine's fell on Sunday, if it fell on Friday, you might not have picked up the business. So this worked kind of to the advantage. But going from here, you and I spoke recently, and you had grave concerns that the industry was going to completely collapse if something wasn't done. Shortly after that, we saw some of the restrictions being eased a little bit. And as you mentioned, restaurants, people coming back to them now. But I suspect we probably lost some restaurants in that time frame. They just couldn't make it. Is that the case, in fact?
Absolutely. You know, we're still on restrictions, quite harsh restrictions in South Africa. So the inside of our restaurants are only allowed to trade with a maximum of 50 people capacity. And outside areas in open spaces or any outside area can trade to a maximum of 100 people, provided it's 50% of their capacity. So it means in a 1,000 square meter or 1,000 seater restaurant, you're still limited to 150 seats, which certainly does put a lot of financial pressure and impact on those particularly large establishments. The smaller to medium establishments certainly have enjoyed the benefit of the weekend. We've also seen a lot of very innovative, very exciting types of deliveries taking place. So from flowers to gift boxing to a variety of goods that have been well executed in the delivery space, which I was delighted to see. We're not out the dark woods, you know, although we are festive and we are certainly in great joy and we are enjoying what we are set out to do in terms of getting the restrictions lifted and the liquor ban lifted, as well as a curfew. We are able now to have a dinner type trade, which we won't be able to. And we also have a competitive advantage because we can serve within the restaurant space now, Mondays to Sundays, alcoholic beverages, where the Ofcon is only allowed to sell between Monday and Thursday. So we do have the weekend competitiveness. We are very, very challenged with the rogue operators, particularly bars and pubs that are not adhering to the protocols and the directives, and a lot of converted licenses within the nightclub space, which are now operating as restaurants, and they are taking advantage of what restaurants are. So we are certainly putting a lot of pressure on the media to outline that restaurants really are a safe and beautiful place to come and enjoy your time, that we have beautiful protocols and we can safely execute the protocols and the regulations for both our staff and patrons. So there'll be an ongoing dialogue that will take place over the next couple of days and weeks. We believe that we are set to, the numbers are exponentially climbing at the moment. We believe that there will be a future address around about the 7th to the 14th of March again to extend the current lockdown. We are very concerned about the numbers. The numbers are sitting close on double of what we started at. The trauma cases are certainly up. So we need to try and balance the responsibility in different parts of the on-site consumption. So we are going to be having a lot of conversations this week. Concerned about next weekend. It's the middle of the month. And then obviously we'll look forward to the last weekend of the month, which is payday, which again falls nicely over a 3-day weekend for us again.
Well, I imagine that'd be some sort of potential harbinger to give you an indication of how things are going to go with the current situation when you get to the end of the month, as you mentioned, because a lot of people get paid at that time. So maybe you'll get a better feel for what kind of trade you're going to get.
Correct. But bear in mind, what we are currently doing within our restaurant scope is we are trading at around about 60% of probability, at around about a 35% of capability, with 100% of expenses. So the margins and the profitability matrix is not there. We rely heavily on the alcohol to bring the experience and to be able to bring people within our businesses, to be able to bring the viable model, to be able to support the expenses. What we found also since we've reopened is that there's a lot of pressure on us from suppliers to pay COD for stock. And we've also got a lot of landlords that are calling in the outstanding rentals and outstanding debts. So there's no compassion anymore, and there's no relief on the landlord side. So we've now launched not a lot of money, where we got some private money in 120 million. It will probably help right about 350 restaurants at an average of between 300,000 to 500,000 in terms of a guaranteed rental for 6 months. So we've managed to get that. We hope that the fund will get some continuity, and a lot more private investors within South Africa, around the world, will be able to open up another 200 million or R1 billion to be able to look at the landlord relief fund to keep restaurants in operation for the next 6 months. So that was certainly a great gift to us this last week in the industry, which will save a number of those restaurants and high tourism belts.
Well, thanks for that, Wendy. Our time is short. You've got other interviews to do, but I'd like to ask you 2 quick questions before you run, if that's all right. The first is that famously in New York City, they allowed restaurants to have outdoor awnings and covers, or like big fest tents, that sort of thing. Is that a possibility for your restaurants? Obviously not, on urban streets and places like that, but is that something you could do like at a game lodge or somewhere like that where you have a restaurant or a hotel? Does it fall in your purview, or is that something prohibited for outdoor?
So again, these are ongoing conversations. We have to open up dialogue with the landlords. Many of the beautiful properties lend to the landscape of South Africa. We have the most incredible summers, even right through into the autumn, close on winter. Winter days are spectacular. So the areas certainly do lend to the availability of that. What we really need to do is just get landlords to agree without wanting to take competitive advantage of our financial position by charging for that space. Many of our restaurants sit within strip malls or sited malls, or these open malls where you write on the car park. In South Africa, patrons like to sit in the parking lot and view the parking lot. So we're looking at proposing to landlords the extension of those parking lots, wooden decking, to be able to make it a lot more favorable and open to the public. So those are all things on the cards. And we certainly have seen a lot of restaurants quickly having to become innovative by moving their businesses outside because of the limited number of 50 inside the establishments, regardless of what size your restaurant is.
Well, Wendy, that's very interesting to know. It sounds like your work is still cut out for you quite a bit to work out with the government and with proprietors and landowners and owners of these businesses where the restaurants are at. But the final question I want to get to before we let you get away from us is that I always worry and have a concern, not that I'm overly generous, but if I get great service, I do tip well. But there's an expectation to tipping here in the United States. Culture is different around the world. What is going on and what's it like in South Africa? I mean, are people tipping their wait staff? And if they do so, is maybe with them coming back this weekend, have you any indication maybe people are a little more generous if they can afford to be? Because the wait staff and the cooks and the people working these restaurants have also suffered immensely from no income and not getting anything done. So you have any indications of that right now, or is that a cultural thing that people won't tip?
No, look, we are South Africa's most loved industry, and I think that there's a lot of compassion and a lot of love for the people that have tried so hard to be heroes of this industry. You know, everybody knows somebody who owns a restaurant and has really seen how we have struggled through the last month, almost year now that we've been through COVID, as well as all the beautiful people that work in our establishments. So, you know, we find that people that eat out are generally very generous. We've had lovely reports in of South Africans who have really spoiled the staff this weekend. And they've also been delivering high levels of service. So when I've done my rounds, I can also say that the staff that are working have certainly upped their game. So whilst they've been sitting on short time, they've certainly been scouting the internet or looking at ways to really come back to work energized, enthusiastic, delivering the highest level of service, certainly being motivated and certainly being very, very positive. And that lends itself always to a good tip. And the establishments that I've certainly visited over the last couple of days have really placed large emphasis on encouraging their staff and the staff morale to be so positive. So it's very difficult to not pay them or tip them well over this weekend of love celebrations or the celebration of love, etc. So I'm hoping that the reports on Monday will be very favorable for the industry, that restaurants will report in that they did certainly do high turnovers and that the staff were certainly well rewarded. I can only tell from the beautiful photographs where people have sent and flooded my phone to say, thank you, our industry is open. This is who we are. This is what we do. We are here creating beautiful moments, giving love to beautiful people and creating an environment where people can feel safe to enjoy the beautiful food and service and as well as alcoholic beverages that we have on offer.
Well, Wendy, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you coming on this busy day. Folks, to look at this, Wendy Alberts, Chief Executive Officer of the Restaurant Association of South Africa, working on a Sunday because that's when the trade is happening, trying to help restaurants in South Africa. Wendy, would you like to leave us any last comments or thoughts on this Valentine's Day before we let you skirt out of here?
I think the most important thing to remember is, you know, we are just beautiful people trying to have beautiful experiences. The restaurant industry in South Africa is a non-political, no A-type personality at all. All we are is gorgeous, beautiful people who have the most amazing 5-star establishments that are world-class that have been cited all around the world. And we encourage anybody who's listening to this to come visit South Africa and enjoy culinary experiences that will match any country that you travel to in any experience. And I can promise you'll be delighted and excited by virtue of what you see and feel and experience, and most importantly, taste in South Africa.
Well, having eaten in many restaurants across South Africa, I can second your comments as a consumer and client of the restaurant industry. Well, thank you so much, Wendy. Appreciate you being back on. I know you've got other interviews to do on this Valentine's Day. You're welcome back. Let us know when you want to share some information about the industry, and we'll get you back on the channel in the future.
Thank you so much. All right.
All right. I'll let you drop off.